The Joe Pag Show will start in 1 minute.
Come on.
This is the Joe Pag Show. To talk to Joe, call 888-941-PAGS. And now, it's Joe Pags.
Great radio stations across the land, also streaming. We're also going to be the podcast. It's the Joe Pag Show. Glad to have you here on a Wednesday. It's Sam. It is Polo. I am Joe. And we've got a lot going on. We just do. We have a lot going on. We've got a confirmation out of one of the appointments from President Trump. We'll tell you who that is. You probably already know. Tell you who that is. Hostages being returned home, not only from Russia, but from Belarus. I mean, holy mackerel. I mean, at some point, I guess it has to slow down a little bit. I mean, the man's going to have to go play golf at some point. Sam, you got to play golf at some point, doesn't he?
Wouldn't that be nice?
I mean, but even on the golf course, he'll be like ending wars and putting tariffs on people. That is Sam. Yep. That is Polo. I am Joe. Really appreciate you hanging out. We're going to have a couple of great interviews. Mark Lamb, former sheriff of Pinal County, Arizona. Very weird to call Mark the former sheriff. I just find that to be weird. But we talk about what he's planning on, what he's doing, what he sees different now between the last administration and the current administration. Obviously, the guy that he wanted to win is now the sheriff of Pinal County, and he's still very, very connected. Is there a big difference between what happened before and what's happening now? The short answer is yes. The 15 to 17-minute answer will be coming up hour number 2. Then we got Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Adicott to talk about, is the Ukraine war ending? Can Trump really take Gaza? Can he go and take back the Panama Canal? All that stuff we cover and then some. Make sure you stick around. We do want to start, though, our good friend, and I call her our good friend. I mean, Sam, I've got her cell phone number. Does that make me her good friend or not?
Yes, I will say yes.
You're going to say yes to the good friend?
I will say yes because I was texting her people today. We're all very good friends.
Okay. Now, is she coming on anytime soon? It's getting hard to get them on.
Very, very difficult because they're all working so hard right now.
Right.
The time that they had for interviews it's so slim that, we're working on it and they really want to come on. They love the audience. So we're working on it, but they're just doing such a good job right now.
Well, they really are. They're getting it done and we want them to get it done. Tulsi Gabbard is in fact now the director of national intelligence. And I just think it could not be a better thing. I think this is absolutely incredible. You go from being on the, what do they call the angel watch list or something where they were watching her when she flew on the plane ever since she dared go after Kamala Harris in that debate. I mean, that was retribution if anything was. Now she's the director of national intelligence. I think it's amazing. By the way, a Republican did not vote for her. All but one did not. And it tells you a lot about who these people are. I want to give you this story. This is from Fox News Digital. Tulsi Gabbard sworn in at the White House hours after Senate confirmation. Tulsi Gabbard was confirmed by a vote of 52 to 48 earlier Wednesday. Some would call that today, with only one Republican defector in Mitch McConnell. The guy was the Senate Majority Leader, and when he didn't have the majority, the Senate Minority Leader, for years and years and years. And it turns out he's just a turncoat. Why would he ever say no? There isn't a good reason, but that's what he did. Let's get into the story written by Julia Johnson, Fox News. President Donald Trump's new Director of National Intelligence, DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, was sworn in at the White House on Wednesday. Again, we call that today, just hours after being confirmed by the Senate. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told reporters during her briefing, Senate Republicans continue to confirm President Trump's exceptionally qualified nominees, most recently, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, who will be joining us later at the White House for a swearing-in ceremony. That's already happened, by the way. Quote, it's imperative that the remainder of the president's cabinet nominees are confirmed as quickly as possible, she added. Gabbard was sworn in by Attorney General Pam Bondi in the Oval Office. The event took place just after 4 p.m., and Trump was in attendance for the ceremony. The Senate confirmed Gabbard in a 52-48 vote. The divide was along party lines with the exception of former GOP Senate leader Mitch McConnell, Kentucky Republican, who opposed her. In my assessment, Tulsi Gabbard failed to demonstrate that she is prepared to assume the tremendous national trust. I mean, come on, dude. McConnell said in a lengthy statement on his vote. Probably said it like this. Tulsi Gabbard has refused to assume that Mitch McConnell from Kentucky looked like a turtle. So what you have here is a guy who should be out of the Senate, should have lost last time he ran for re-election, freezes up at whenever he feels like it. He just a frozen turtle. He's a turtle who's frozen. And then he'll snap out of it. What are they talking about? Sam, this kind of sound like him, no?
That sounds exactly like him, and he's in a wheelchair right now as well.
Is he? He's in a wheelchair too?
He is. He fell like 4 times the other day. I don't know if it was at the White House, but it was in D.C.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on. Mm-hmm. How old is he now? 83, 84, something like that?
So, yeah, let me look it up.
Chicago, a wheelchair. With Tulsi Gabbard. I just think, listen, Kentucky, we love you. A lot of people listen in Kentucky. You have to do something to change the minds and the hearts of your neighbors, your coworkers, your family, whoever's voting for this turtle. It's got to go now. Now, again, if you think he represented you, Kentucky, by saying no to Tulsi Gabbard, let me hear you. I would love to hear that. There is no excuse for why he did that. How old is he?
Well, he's very, very young. So he is younger than Nancy Pelosi, and he's 82.
So how old is Pelosi now? So she's in a walker. He's in a wheelchair.
Yeah,
Dianne Feinstein died, 6 months ago or whatever. She was in a wheelchair voting on stuff. She had no idea what she was voting on. It's a mess. I don't know what to do. And people keep asking, hey, can we do the term limits? Can we? And my answer is no. We can't. We can't. You know why? Because the people that would have to put in term limits are the ones that are in Congress now. It would be like saying, are you going to vote yourself out of a job? Keep in mind, they're making $179,000 a year, whatever the hell it is, plus a slush fund if they have any sort of allegations of sexual assault. We're not allowed to know about the $17 million spent there. And then they also have some sort of an account, like they've got a crew, they've got free travel, they've got their office, they've got their staff. It's all paid for. I mean, with the benefits and everything, they're probably making $500,000 a year with all the stuff they get. Why would they ever vote themselves out? They wouldn't. That's the problem. And an executive order can't say term limits. Now, I don't know why there are term limits on the presidency, which I agree with, but not on the House and the Senate. And a good argument is, and I really mean this, it's a good argument. If you say, well, the term limits are every 2 years, the members of the House of Representatives have to be elected again. Every 6 years, the members of the Senate have to be elected again. Every 4 years, the president has to be elected again. It's a decent argument because I look at it from the private sector, and I've got contracts with many radio stations. I've got contracts with video providers, all that. And I don't want my contract to be ended because I've done the job too long if I'm still doing the job well. If I'm doing the job well, then I should be able to continue my contract. So I don't want to be term limited out. But when it comes to government, there's something different going on there. Because suddenly, with the letter I for incumbent before your name, that gives you some extra votes already. And all the special interests that you're doing, you're not doing it for the people. I do believe that term limits make sense. What changed my mind on that is several years ago, one of my senators, Ted Cruz here in Texas, said that he was for term limits. And I thought about it, and I even had him on. Ted, I like how you do the job. And I don't want you to be term limited out because you're doing a great job. The next guy might not do as good a job. And it was a very convincing argument that you need term limits because power goes to your head. And people get drunk on power, and they stop representing anybody. Do you really think Nancy Pelosi has done anything for San Francisco? in the 30, 40 years she's been in there? Has Maxine Waters done anything? Sheila Jackson Lee, may she rest in peace. Did she do anything for Houston? Anything? I mean, or are they doing absolutely nothing? Dan Goldman, is he doing anything for his district? Of course not. Of course not. You have to keep on getting reelected on name recognition, on huge money coming in from super PACs, on huge money coming in from Soros and the like. At some point, I mean, maybe you make a rule that if you're in a wheelchair or you're using a walker, you can no longer be, if you're in there because of age-related problems like you fell down or you froze. Because I like Madison Cawthorn, who used to be a U.S. representative, and he's in a wheelchair, but he's a young guy. So if there's anything age-related that stops you from being able to fully do your job, maybe we look at that. Should there be a cognitive test for everybody who's in the House and Senate? I'm not against that either. In fact, I'd be for that. But when you hear about a guy who is handed the ability to call up legislation, to actually bring things out of committee, he was the Senate minority leader and majority leader. Actually, last time we just got a new guy, Thune. This guy has been running the so-called Republican agenda for many, many years. And he wasn't even smart enough to say yes to Tulsi Gabbard? Kentucky, you got to do better. I mean, you got Rand Paul, who's great. Then you got this doofus. It's like you guys are schizophrenic or something. What's going on? Make a decision that you want better representation in the U.S. Senate for Kentucky. And you make that decision by hitting the ground. You got to talk to people. Because many of you will say, hey, I live in Kentucky. Why are you blaming me? I voted for the other guy. Because you're not doing the work to get your coworkers, your friends, your family, your neighbors to vote the right way. And you do so not by twisting their arms. You do so by telling the truth. Listen, the turtle keeps on freezing up. The turtle fell down 4 times last week. He's in a wheelchair. The turtle said no to Tulsi Gabbard just because he wanted to twist that knife in Trump's back. That's what's really going on. And anybody with a brain knows that. So, yeah, you've got to be more active than you're being. I am calling you out. Same thing with Minnesota. I call you guys out all the time. Because, yes, the majority of the state is red. But are you talking the good talk as well as walking the good walk? And what I mean by that is, listen, you go in there, you vote your way, you're voting Republican, conservative, you're voting what would be best for Minnesota. But if you're not spreading the knowledge and spreading the word and educating people, then are you really doing enough work? Are you? Because if they're listening to me, they're getting the truth, but I don't live in Minnesota. I can't vote in that district or in that state. I can't do that. I can't get rid of Ilhan Omar. You can. I can't not vote in Keith Ellison. My God, the pro-Antifa guy, the Marxist guy, is your attorney general. And I can go down the line throughout all these states. Ruben Gallego is really your guy in Arizona? What are you, crazy? Are you nuts? You guys voted in Trump, but you voted in Gallego? What? The open border guy? So I can go through all of it. Yes, love you, California. Love you on AM 960 and several other stations that we have. But AM 960 is the closest to LA, I believe. And yet, for some reason, Karen Bass is the mayor of Los Angeles. Yeah, but we don't live in Los Angeles. You got friends, I'll bet, that go to work there, that live there, that can vote there. Talk to them. Gavin Newsom's really your governor? You're okay with that? Come on. Come on, New York. Kathy Hochul is your governor? Are you nuts? Are you nuts? You must be. I don't think you are. But you're too quiet. And these states that I just mentioned, along with many others, you got to do a better job. New Mexico, love you. Love hearing from those of you in Albuquerque. You know that your governor's an idiot. You know that. You know she sucks. Open borders, anti-Second Amendment. She is a bad governor. Are you crazy? How is she your governor? Well, don't blame me. I voted the right way. How many people did you get to vote with you? How many people's minds did you change? At some point, we have to realize this country is at critical mass. That's why Trump got a vast majority in the popular vote. That's why he got a vast majority of the Electoral College votes. That's why he has the House and the Senate and the Supreme Court, because we're a critical mass in this country. And sitting in your hands and not being vocal anymore, that's over. How dare you give Mitch McConnell the ability to have any power? If he picks off a couple of more Republicans, you might have a problem today with Tulsi Gabbard. She should be the DNI. She's a great American. She is somebody who's actively still in the freaking military, willing to die for the country. She was somehow, Adam Schiff calling her a Putin puppet. Do better. Do better. You got to do better. Kentucky, I know that you're solid red. I know that you are. You got to do better. This guy is not only is he's not even a rhino, Republican in name only. He's not even that. He's less than that. He's a liberal. He's a left-leaning liberal that has shown his stripes a million times. Somehow he gets reelected all the time. I don't get it. I just don't. 833-JOE-PAGS, 833-563-7247, joepags.com. Isn't it time for people to step up and say enough is enough? We've hit critical mass. Let me talk to you about your vote. Like, really have that conversation. And if you don't help them to see the light and they don't vote any differently, at least you tried. I'm going to go back to Minnesota because I love you guys. Love, girl, love, Minnesota. I'm here to tell you, you're too nice. Minnesota nice sounds great, not helping your state out. So be a little less nice. Be a little more vocal. Inject yourself into politics a little bit more. Make people understand why what the nation did is what Minnesota should have done recently, which is turn that state back to red, like Michigan just did. Michigan had enough of the Gretchen Whitmers and the Nessels of Dana Nessels of the world. They had enough. And they showed up big time, and they were vocal, and they were loud. They were not quite as nice, although they're nice in Michigan, not quite as nice as Minnesota. Minnesota, take cues from your neighbors in the Midwest. 833-JOE-PAGS, 833-563-7247, joepags.com. Got to remind you about getting real peace of mind. It comes from knowing that your family is ready for tough times no matter how they come. Could be natural disaster, man-made, could be riots in the streets again, which is exactly what one party is pulling for right now, to be honest with you. My Patriot Supply, America's most trusted name in emergency preparedness, is offering a limited time discount on their supersized mega 3-month emergency food kit. I'm talking about big bucks you can save right now. It's not your typical survival food. Each kit provides over 2,500 calories every day for 90 days. Delicious meals with extras, including chicken, beef, fruits, and veggies. We're talking about quality meals that last up to 25 years in storage. I've got several of these. They're incredible. We feel great about it. Should a supply chain thing happen? Should a deep freeze happen? God forbid, as I said, riots in the streets or a pandemic. We're talking about you being prepared for your family and for you. Go right now and get yourself at preparewithjoe.com one of these 24/7 USA-based support system provided kits that last 3 months. $250 off right now. You got to go to that website, preparewithjoe.com. Go to the website, save $250. Order by 3 p.m. They ship out the same day. Preparewithjoe.com. Make it happen right now. And we're back after this.
This is the Joe Pags Show.
Clear.
What's happening, people? Good to see everybody over here. Got the level 1 emote, so not a whole lot of action on that hype train. I always appreciate those who do contribute, though. Let me see if I can find it. 100 from Jack Shaw. 100 from Tilden. Brad the 200, Tilden the 300. Thank you. Underdog the resub for 18 months. Let's go. Appreciate that. Curtis, what the hell's going on? $100 super chat. Curtis, thank you, brother. That's amazing. Yay, made it just in time for the start. Hey, Joe. Hey, Sam. Hey, Polo. Man, that's amazing. Curtis, thank you again. You can also do a super chat over on YouTube. We cannot monetize the video. So super chats, members, and gift memberships, that's how we do it there. Also, on Rumble Rants, and subs and gift subs. Curtis, thanks a million. You just paid to have this on for all 3 hours on YouTube. Thank you. Sam, redo your camera. You're frozen. Thank you. All right, great to have you. Thanks. The new the new Director of National Intelligence, that is the DNI, is Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard getting the job. We love that. I've sent her a text. She's ignored me. I guess she's highfalutin DNI now. No, I'm kidding. She always sends back an answer. I'm guessing she's busy getting sworn in and finding her new office. But we hope to have her on. We hope to have Pam Bondi. I hope to have everybody on. We know all of these people. You've heard them here on this show. Every single person, just about everybody who's in the cabinet now, you've heard on this program in the past few years. We've got good relationships with the Trump administration. We'll continue to have people on. We had Harrison Fields on the other day, the principal deputy press secretary. We'll keep on working that angle. But so proud of her, and I'm glad that she's the right person. And look, you can't argue this is some hyper-conservative, radical right-wing pick. She literally ran for president as a Democrat in 2020. You can't make the argument that she's some radical person. That doesn't make sense. I can make the argument, though, that sometimes you people are just too nice. Sometimes you've got to grab somebody by the ear, either literally or figuratively, it's up to you, and say, just hear me out for a second as to why you can't have Keith Ellison as your AG, about why you can't have Ilhan Omar as your representative, why you can't have fill in the blank, why you can't have people like Mitch McConnell representing you in the United States Senate. Dwayne, Minnesota, talk to me.
Joe, long-time listener, thanks for taking the call.
You bet.
You're exactly right. We have to stop this here. A bunch of us have done things like starting to talk to people that won't ever listen, where we want them to listen to hear. We can't continue like this. This state has the biggest amount of fraud of all the states in the nation, and our illustrious governor won't do anything about it. We're reaching out. Here's an example for you. The Minnesota House of Legislature, the Democrats would not show up to work for 3 weeks, continue to get paid. I had to send 3 emails to my representative to have them get back to me to try to say, I'm just not showing up because I stand with my caucus.
Crazy.
And I said, that's fine, but we have a petition here, and you're going to be out of a job. Miraculously, they're showing up. So
Good.
You're exactly right.
Well, Dwayne, right up against it. You guys are too nice in Minnesota. I want you to be a little meaner, a little less nice. I think that's going to benefit everybody in that state. It's time to get proper representation, which you don't have. Quick break here. A lot of people want to be heard. It's time to ditch Mitch in Kentucky. Keep it here.
This is the Joe Pags Show.
You're clear.
Sam, that website is nuts.
Right? I am literally obsessed.
Yeah, I'll be spending some time on it tonight.
I've been a little distracted. Did you see that little bit I sent you on Bondi?
No. I'm trying to get TikTok
Check it out.
post. I haven't posted yet.
Oh, okay.
You sent an email?
Yeah, I just resent it.
So which one? The top or the second one?
The second one is just the video. The
Okay.
first one is the news story.
The second is her saying it?
Yeah.
We're here today because we have filed charges against
Thank you. My pleasure to have you here. Thanks a lot for stopping by, for just joining us. It is the Joe Pag Show. I appreciate you. Tulsi Gabbard is the new DNI, Director of National Intelligence. She's been sworn in, and you get sworn in into that job, I guess, by the Attorney General, because Pam Bondi certainly is the one that swore her in. I think it's a great pick. It's about time. Should have been done a long time ago. I'll be honest with you. Should not have taken that long. So I'm glad that she's in. We need RFK Jr. to be in as well. And again, you can't call him some right-wing lunatic or something. Tulsi Gabbard, a Democrat just a few years ago. RFK Jr. still a Democrat as far as I know. I don't think he switched. So you've got people that cover a wide swath of the United States politically, and yet you've got people like Mitch McConnell, the turtle, who can't seem to get behind what the agenda is of this president. In fact, if I were you in Kentucky, figure out the process of getting rid of a U.S. senator. Maybe you do a recall, something, because this guy is not going to represent you for the remainder of his term. Sam, do me a favor. Look up Mitch McConnell's term and see when he's up. I don't know if he's running for re-election, but find out when he's up. I would love to see him be done soon. If it's in 2026, I get it. Maybe you can put up with it for a while. But if I were in Kentucky, if I were a Kentucky resident, I'd be looking very closely at trying to remove Mitch McConnell because he's there representing himself now. He's not representing anybody in that state. There's no way anybody in that state wants that. When is he up?
2026. And if he does rerun, it would be his 8th Senate term.
Of course, because God knows you need him in there for 32 years. It doesn't make any sense. And before that, I believe he was a representative, a U.S. representative. This guy has never had a real job. He's been in government making millions of dollars somehow on a salary that shouldn't make you $1 million. And that's the way he does. I'm going to take your phone calls again in a second, but this just came in. This is, like an hour and a half ago, something like that. Pam Bondi, the U.S. Attorney General, came out and talked about a new suit that she's bringing, saying this is what? She's suing New York?
Yes.
Okay, let's bring this. This is Pam Bondi, the Attorney General.
We're here today because we have filed charges against the state of New York. We have filed charges against Kathy Hochul. We have filed charges against Letitia James and Mark Schroeder, who is with DMV. This is a new DOJ, and we are taking steps to protect Americans, American citizens, and angel moms, like the mom standing right behind me, who you're going to hear from in a moment. New York has chosen to prioritize illegal aliens over American citizens.
And that's a fact. We've been outlining it for how long now? New York City New York State, has been prioritizing illegal aliens. Billions and billions and billions of dollars spent on those in this country illegally as they ignore the needs of the New Yorkers that rely on them. I'll have the actual story to put context to that in a second. I don't want to keep you hanging on the phone lines, though. Let me get back at it. Say hello and welcome to line 4 is going to be Ed in Melbourne, Florida. Ed, what's going on? Hi.
Hey, brother. How's it going?
Living the dream, man. Talk to me.
Question. So Mitch McConnell is on 2 committees, right? I think it's the Defense Appropriation, and I forget the Rules Committee. And my question is there a way to get him off those committees? Because he's working against us and not for us. And I don't know how that's done. I was hoping you could explain that.
Thune can remove him. The new majority leader can remove him. I don't think he wants to because that would cause some sort of uprising in the Senate, but maybe you should just do that. I believe that the Senate majority leader does that. If not him alone, there's a caucus of certain Republican leadership that would say, this is who we want on these committees. He should be removed. There should be a punishment for him making this stupid vote. Ned, thank you from Melbourne. We love being on WMMB. By the way, for those of you who are new to the program, if you ask me how I'm doing, I'm going to say I'm living the dream. You know what I mean, Sam? I'm just going to say that.
Every time.
I'm going to say it, and I want you to live it and understand it. So do me a favor. How you doing? Wait for me to answer. Or don't ask me how I'm doing. And again, the guy did nothing wrong. He just didn't realize that I was going to say it. But then it gets mixed up and, he's talking over him, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm living the dream, and I'm going to say it every time. Now, people say, well, why do you say that? I don't remember the actual inception of it other than I think when somebody said to Sean, how you doing? Or you're a great American, he would say you're a great American back. I think Glenn would say you're a sick, twisted freak or something like that. I just say I'm living the dream. How am I doing? That's how I'm doing. I'm living my best life. I'm enjoying the job that I do, and I'm enjoying talking to you. So just again, brand new stations all the time. In fact, the new station in Iowa coming on very soon. So keep that in mind. Living the dream. Let me go to Roger, who is in Kansas City. Roger, what's going on? Hi.
Hey, Joe, I love your show, and I'm living the dream, too.
Thank you. What's happening?
So I spent a summer in Kentucky when I was in college selling books door to door. And when they were training us, and this is in Nashville, they told us you've got to talk low and slow. So I'm suggesting that you talk. I mean, I can follow you fine. I'm from Miami, Florida, but you talk so fast that I don't think they know what you're saying. So maybe if you said something like, "Now, y'all good citizens there in Kentucky, you need to understand you need to get this bum out of office. The one that looks like a turtle and keeps falling down, you need to vote him out."
Roger, I hope that the people of Kentucky take that well. I appreciate the suggestion. Pretty funny. But Kentucky, let me say this. I think you're just as smart, and I think that you can hear me just as well. And yes, I talk very, very fast. Now, Jamie, do you agree that I need to slow down my speech pattern to convince people in your state of Kentucky that they need to stop voting Mitch McConnell in? What do you think?
Not at all, Joe. I'm originally from Chicago, so I get it. But I've been living here for 16 or 17 years.
What is the problem?
It's pretty much a red state. Mitch brings home the bacon. It's pretty much a red state. Only 1 or 2 Democrat representatives. But somehow they reelected Andy Bashir. And if Mitch leaves office before the end of his term, I got different conspiracy theories on that. But if our state law allows for the vacancy to be filled by appointment, so if Mitch is recalled or leaves office early, the Democrat governor will no doubt appoint a Democrat replacement.
Yeah, but so Jamie, let me interject this. Normally, a recall is different than him just saying, I'm not going to complete my term. If you can't complete your term for whatever reason, I get that the governor can appoint. But if it's a recall, then you guys should be able to vote in a recall vote, no?
Perhaps, but I'm not that familiar with the law.
Yeah.
But I know if there's a vacancy, like resignation, death, whatever.
Yeah.
That's a bit I don't want him to die.
But what do you think that he would do that just to spite Trump? You think he would drop out early?
No. I think someone's got his ear and say, just stick it out. You're not going anywhere. He's got his gazillions of dollars, and so does his wife. Off of sweet deals. It's some of that's really sick.
It is. But see, here's the thing: the only speech I've ever seen Mitch McConnell give in front of people from Kentucky, he got booed off the stage. So I don't know who is voting for this guy.
Oh yeah. Well, the state will vote for him. He gives private speeches in these different university settings, maybe at the some art institute, the Speed Museum of something or other down at University of Louisville. But and that previous caller, we don't all talk slow.
I figured it'd be good to go to you
high
next.
Schools and colleges here.
right, and I know that very well. Jamie, thanks for calling in, brother. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, listen, he was being funny. It was pretty funny. But no, I don't have to slow down my speech pattern for Kentucky to understand me. I've been on in Kentucky for a very long time, and nobody's ever said, I just can't understand you. You're talking too fast. Very good call. Mitch McConnell should not have been reelected. Sam, that's my new cue to you. Sam?
Okay, great. Just like at home.
Exactly right. You've been saying to you for 30 some odd years. So do me a favor. Look up the recall of a United States senator in Kentucky. What is the process to replace him? If a recall happens, I'm pretty sure any recall would lead to a recall vote. But I get it. If you resign or drop out or pass away or something, then you could be appointed. The replacement would be appointed. There still would be a regular election the next time it comes around. But I wonder if you recall the guy, what the process is. Look that up if you don't mind. All right, let me go back to Kurt, who's in Minnesota. Kurt, what's going on? Hi.
Hey, long-time listener, and just wanted to share with you a little secret about Minnesota.
Please.
You had mentioned earlier that what's your guys' issue up there? Maybe you got to be a little bit not so nice.
Yeah.
Up in this state, if you don't win 2 out of the 3 counties in the metro area, so there's Dakota, Ramsey, and Hennepin. If you don't win 2 out of the 3, you're not winning the state. That's just flat out the way it works here. And the way it scored last time was 70-30 in 2 of the 3 counties. So that's the issue. It's so far off that it's a challenge.
Well, let me say this. Doug Wardlow did pretty well against Keith Ellison. Unless you're telling me the population of those 3 counties is more than the rest of the state combined, well, then you're right. It's insurmountable. But if it isn't more than that, and if every Republican isn't going and voting, I've made this comment a few times. Tell me what you think, Kurt. If every Republican in Minnesota voted, if it's 100% turnout, I think you guys win. But the turnout isn't anywhere near that. It's probably 40 or 50% if you're lucky. So I don't buy the idea that you're at the behest of those 3 counties, because a lot of people are sitting on their hands just making that assumption. Would you agree?
Maybe it's a pattern, and it just appears that way.
Okay.
It's possible.
Well, I'd like to actually see the numbers, and I'm sure you don't have them off the top of your head. I don't either. I'll look them up, though, tonight. I'd like to know what the populations – those obviously, they're the most populated counties. I get that. But if it's not more than the entire rest of the state combined, then you guys still can win. You still can overcome. You can't overcome Ilhan Omar because she's in a specific representative district. I get it. But Keith Ellison should not be your attorney general. I mean, no way. I mean, come on, Walz should not be your governor. Give me a break. So at the end of the day, I think that you guys can overcome it. But I think I truly do believe that you're too nice. And it's complimentary as well as insulting, I guess. But it's time to be a little less nice, no? Stop it.
You're probably right.
All right, Kurt, I appreciate you, brother. Stop it. You know what I mean? Just knock it up. Sam, do we know?
So according to Ballotpedia, the state of Kentucky does not have any recall provision. So I honestly can't find anything. I don't know what would happen if we tried to recall Mitch. I don't know.
Wow. No, there's got to be a way to recall. There's got to be a way to remove somebody from office. There's no way they just don't have one. We'll continue researching that as well. Before I hit the break, let me give you the actual story in context why Pam Bondi came out and said she's suing everybody in New York. Pretty much said, I'm suing everybody in New York. Pam Bondi sues New York and its liberal leaders over sanctuary city policies as Trump cracks down on migrants. Let me go to, this is by Sarah Ewald Weiss, senior U.S. political reporter. Good stuff. Only one person needed. The United States Justice Department sued New York, its Governor Kathy Hochul, and other state leaders on Wednesday. Some would call that today, as part of Trump administration's crackdown on illegal immigration, he said. Newly sworn-in Attorney General Pam Bondi announced the lawsuit at her first press conference at the Justice Department. Bondi said they were also suing New York Attorney General Letitia James and Mark Schroeder, the current commissioner for the New York State Department of Motor Vehicles. This is a new DOJ. We're taking steps to protect Americans, Bundy declared at a press conference. She accused New York of prioritizing illegal immigrants over U.S. citizens, stating it stops today. It comes after the Justice Department took similar action against Illinois and the city of Chicago last week. New York didn't listen. So now you're next, Bundy said. She warned the Justice Department is also ready to go after other states they believe are not complying with federal law. Dude, I love that. Enough already. Enough is enough. There's a new sheriff in town, and her name is Pam Bundy. All right, 833-JOE-PAGS, 833-563-7247, joepags.com. I definitely want to hear from you on this. It could be either voter apathy in states where these idiots are getting reelected over and over again. It could also be Pam Bundy going after these cities and these states. When Brandon Johnson, the ridiculous mayor of Chicago, spending $83,000 on a new refurbished office for his wife, at the mayor's complex, when that guy who doesn't care about the low level of education or the high level of crime in Chicago, when that guy comes out and says he's going to protect the rights of illegal aliens, well, then you've got Pam Bundy who says, oh yeah, watch this. And I believe they'll win the suits because these people aren't just standing out of the way. These people are actually inhibiting. They're stopping ICE and CBP from doing the job that they have to do. And DHS, not okay. Want to hear from you. 833-JOE-PAGS, 833-563-7247. Next hour, we got a couple of great interviews. Mark Lamb, former sheriff, Pinal County, Arizona. What's up next for him? What changes has he seen on the border since Biden left and Trump took office? Really good conversation. Stick around for that. Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Adicott at the bottom of hour number 3. We're going to break down, is the Ukraine war just about over? Can Trump really take Gaza? Can we take Panama, the Panama Canal back? We get to all of that and then some on the Joe Pags Show. Got to remind you about the Eden Pure Thunderstorm Air Purifier. It is a great purification system that is small, not big, not noisy, doesn't need filters to replace. In fact, they've got their 3rd generation Eden Pure Thunderstorm Air Purifier available right now. 2 separate technologies. With those 2 technologies, it kills 99.9% of bacteria and viruses and mold. It also goes after any dust, pet dander, smoke, and more from the air, and gets rid of any odor. It leaves a great smell like a thunderstorm just rolled through. And again, doesn't really matter what the smell is. Smoke, could be dirty diapers, got the kitty litter going, garbage, whatever it happens to be. Maybe that food doesn't smell right. Somebody burned something in the kitchen. This is going to help to clarify the air and make it smell great. And again, no air filters to buy. You're not going to have to worry about spending all that extra money. You can save $200 right now on a 3-pack. Get 3 units for less than $200 by going to EdenPureDeals.com. EdenPureDeals.com. Discount code is PAGS3, P-A-G-S, the number 3. Save $200 on 3 thunderstorms. That's EdenPureDeals.com. Discount code PAGS3. And we're back after this.
You're listening to Joe Pags.
Clear.
What's happening, people? Good to see everybody again. I want to thank you for the super chat over on YouTube. That is Curtis. Hooked us up with $100. Curtis, thank you very much. You can also do a super chat. You can do memberships and gift memberships. This is an impetus or a reason for incentivize us to keep it up on YouTube. We can't monetize the videos because YouTube's confused about what music I can and can't use, and I don't have time to deal with them. So this is the way we monetize, by doing super chats and also memberships and gift memberships. Over on Rumble, same thing. Rumble rants, or you can do subs or gift subs. And on Twitch, you know how to do it. Subs, gift subs, and bits. Let's go. Hey, great to have you. Thanks. I appreciate you stopping by. There's a lot going on the Joe Pag Show. We've got at the bottom of next hour, we've got a great interview. Make sure you stick around for that. It's going to be breaking down what we're seeing going on in Congress. Going to be breaking down the immigration system with Mark Lamb. He's the former sheriff of Pinal County, Arizona. He doesn't like being called former sheriff. I don't like calling him former sheriff. Sam, it felt weird calling him that.
It sounds weird.
Feels weird, sounds weird. So we just called him sheriff. Then I said, I think retired afterwards or something. But he's got a new benefit program for sheriffs as well. I'm going to talk about that. But the border numbers and the spending from FEMA, I asked him specifically, as a former border sheriff, did you deal with FEMA? And his answer is pretty interesting. Stick around for that. Also, Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Adicott. In hour number 3, we're going to break down Ukraine and Russia. Is that going to end soon? We're going to break down why are the hostages being sent home now. I mean, Trump is doing an amazing job of bringing the hostages home. Why is that working out so well? Got that. Also, we're going to talk about Panama. We'll talk about Gaza, all that stuff, and then some. Let me go to the phone line and say hello to Brian, who's in Brunswick, Maine. Brian, what's going on?
Hey, how are you, Joe?
Living the dream, man. Talk to me.
Yeah, so these Democrats, or these people, looking at taking care of all these migrants in these cities, why don't they just put their own money up, take them to their homes, because that didn't work out good for Obama either.
Yeah, as soon as you sent the illegals, when you send the illegals to Martha's Vineyard, they got rid of them in like 2 days, like 48 hours.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They put them on a garbage barge.
They did.
And why didn't they take that $59 million and send that down to Carolinas?
Oh, no, it was more important to give luxury hotel stays in New York City. Come on. You know better than that. What's the matter with you, Brian?
Exactly.
Well, Brian, hey, listen, first of all, I can't tell you how much I love hearing garbage bodge. You know what I mean, Sam? I mean, it's just nice to hear it. But you're absolutely right. They're never, ever, ever, never going to take them in their own neighborhood. I mean, when they sent a busload, I think Greg Abbott did from here in Texas, to Kamala Harris. When they did that, she freaked out and had them removed immediately. It's funny. They're all about talking the talk. They definitely don't want to walk the walk. It's the Joe Pag Show. Lots going on. We'll get to Caroline Leavitt with another masterful press briefing today. The press secretary getting it done. Also, Mark Lamb next hour, former sheriff, Pinal County, Arizona. The Joe Pag Show continues. Stay here.
Joe Pags.
Clear.
Hey guys on the phone lines, thanks so much for listening and calling in. We are going to switch up the topic here, so I do have to let you run, but keep listening and definitely call back soon.
People, break at the top of the hour. I appreciate you. Those of you on YouTube can thank Curtis. We'll continue staying up on YouTube. Curtis hooked us up with a great super chat for $100. We'll be back.
The Joe Pag Show will start in 5 minutes. The Joe Pag Show will start in 4 minutes. The Joe Pag Show will start in 3 minutes. The Joe Pag Show will start in 2 minutes. The Joe Pag Show will start in 1 minute.
This is the Joe Pag Show. To talk to Joe, call 888-941-PAGS. And now, it's Joe Pags.
Great radio stations across the land, also on the streams. We're podcasting too. It's the Joe Pag Show. Make sure you stop by the social media. Posted a little while ago, and it's going nuts on TikTok and over on Instagram, a video of Caroline Levitt bringing receipts again. Bringing receipts as to where your money and mine is going. And it's going to places that you and I didn't say we're okay with that. Either thousands of or millions of dollars going to basically DEI crap all over the country. Not the country, all over the world. This is money that's like, some of it's here in the United States. Other of it is like over in Sri Lanka. I don't understand. All this woke agenda is being exposed, and that video is going crazy. It's at Joe Pags, at JoePags over on TikTok. It's at Joe Talk Show on Instagram. Bottom of this hour, it's going to be Sheriff Mark Lamb, retired now, of Pinal County, Arizona. Going to break down the border, going to break down sex trafficking, drug trafficking, human trafficking. Where are those 300,000 plus kids? We'll get into all that and then some. By the way, that's Sam. That is Polo. Get it done. I'm your boy, Joe Pags, for another hour. So we've got Mark Lamb at the bottom. Don't miss a second of that. We saw late last night, I was actually streaming on TikTok, and the people in the stream were like, Fogel's released, Fogel's released. I'm like, what are you talking about? You got to put on Fox News. So I stopped the stream and put on Fox News, and there it was. There was this guy, Mark Fogel, who's like a teacher who was being held hostage in Russia. He's now home. He's now home. Remember, he was left behind by Biden because they had to get Brittany Griner back, who brought illegal marijuana with her in her vape or something into Russia. I had to get her back. That was way more important than Mark Fogel. So, and again, he was there for 3.5 years or something. Biden could have gotten him out at any given time. Just wasn't a priority. But Trump gets it done. Let me give you the story. Accused Russian money launderer is being released in exchange for Mark Fogel. That's the headline on CNN. How sick is that? Sam, what should the headline be?
Former American teacher returns home after being ignored by previous administration.
I mean, that would be way more accurate than this. But I guess this isn't inaccurate, but in news, let me educate you people on news, because I love you, but I know how to do news, know how to do journalism, done it for a long time. The lead of the story is almost like a hook on social media. The lead of the story is a very compact, almost promotion or tease of the rest of the story. The story has nothing to do with a Russian money launderer. The story has to do with an American released from Russia. I mean, the opening could be, he's back. Former teacher Mark Fogel, held hostage by Russia for 3.5 years, is back on United States soil thanks to President Donald Trump. Or, if you don't want to say thanks to, back on American soil, period, President Donald Trump made a deal with the Russian leaders to get Fogel back home. He'd been gone, blah, 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 taken hostage, blah, blah, blah. He's this age. He has this many kids. Pop-a-dup. This is family. And then the exchange happened when Trump gave back a man accused of being a Russian money launderer. But you only write a headline like this if you want the reader to think that Trump was helping out a Russian money launderer. That's how sick a headline like that is. It's sick. So that's the stupid headline by stupid Jennifer Hansler and stupid Anna Chernova and stupid Sean Lingas, could be Lingas for all I know, from CNN. You know, every once in a while after I have broccoli, Sam, I sometimes get that Lingas.
You know.
What?
I'm just going to ignore that one.
Well, it's an abbreviation for lingering. Lingas.
Oh, right.
Hey, whoa, what is that? Whoa, what's that? Is that the Lingas?
This is for one of 3 writers.
That's right. How do you not change your name?
Have sources.
I mean, I would add the letters E and R in my name, make it Linger Gas. Why not? Right, Paulo?
No.
Absolutely.
Hello, you're gonna at least have fun with it. Gonna have a name like Gas. I'm sure he probably says Lingos. He's probably says something stupid like that to try to hide it. I don't think so. All right, let me go back to the story. And again, horribly written by 3 idiots. From CNN, accused Russian money launderer Alexander. This is the first sentence in the story. The story is not this idiot. The story is Fogel is out. Let me read it so you understand just how disgusting and corrupt the left-wing media is. Accused Russian money launderer Alexander Vinnik is being released from U.S. custody in exchange for Mark Fogel, a Trump administration source told CNN Wednesday. Some would call that today. Vinnik is accused. The next sentence is about Vinnik. The sentence after that is about Vinnik. It's paragraph 4 when they actually get to this. The release of Fogel in exchange for Vinnik comes as President Donald Trump has renewed his focus to on trying to quickly end the war in Ukraine. On Tuesday, he suggested that the release of Fogel was a good faith gesture by the Russians. On Wednesday, today, Trump spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin about war and said negotiations to end it will begin immediately. Fogel's release was followed by the release of another American, this time from Belarus. On Wednesday, today, Trump had teased the release of another American on Tuesday. The American, who was not named at a request for privacy, was part of a group of 3 political prisoners who were freed Wednesday, today. The other 2 included Andrei Chochinuk, something like that, who worked for the U.S.-backed Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, and Elena Moshuk, according to the administration. So again, the story is not only that Fogel was released, it's also that another American was released from Belarus, and instead of focusing on what the lead should be, they focused on this accused Russian money launderer. Again, not somebody who committed money laundering, not some felon. Accused Russian money launderer, blah, 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 being released. That is not the story. Not the story. Maybe that could be a new thing. Not the story. Could be not the story. But if you're getting your news from Sean Lingergas, we already have an issue. Am I right?
True.
I don't know what that story is. Let me check in with Lingergas and see what he's got going. I mean, you know what I mean? What are we doing? What are we doing? Ooh, Sean, great writing. Can't hire you. It's the last name. I can't do it. We can't. He should get his own news organization, Lingas News. Sam, what do we could apply for a job there? I like to work for Lingergas.
Yeah, I would love that just so I can avoid every story that he's ever written so you don't make fun of him anymore.
We now have this guy's name is marked. Sam, every story he does, I want the story from Lingergas.
I will get it to your desk every morning.
Mark, brats last night? What was that? Lingergas. Right, Polo?
Why wouldn't you want to have somebody named that working with you?
What? Then people would read the story just to laugh at his name. They wouldn't even get the news from me.
Yeah, but then you would always have to say, Lingergas, I need you to come to my office. We need to have a talk. I mean, just for that reason alone, you should.
The last thing
somebody.
I would want a guy named Lingergas to do is come to my office. I don't want him anywhere near me. I would like to let him stay in his little cubicle away from. It's like a brown fog over one side of the room. We know what's going on, right? Right, Sam?
How would you know what that looks like?
Mark, come on. Or Sean, what's his name? Sean. So it is. Yes, Iowa, welcome to the Joe Pag Show. This is what we do. And you've got us live every day, which I think is awesome. So again, I will continue to highlight the lack of journalistic integrity. I will continue to highlight how ridiculous it is that CNN even exists when they write stories like this. The story is certainly not that some Russian accused person was released. The story is that Mark Fogel is out and the unnamed American is out now from Belarus. I want your thoughts on this. Are you relying on people like this for your news? Are you like, let's check it and see what Lingergas is doing? No. The answer is no. I beg you, no. Listen, God named him that so you would know not to go for him for news. Sam? No?
This poor man. This poor dude who's a writer, probably not a journalist, but you know what? I'm going to avoid him from now on.
It is Lyngaas, probably some, it sounds like it's a Nordic country name, but I do believe that if you speak Norwegian, I think it's pronounced Sean. Pretty sure that's the phonetic of it. Phonetically, it sounds like that.
Really?
I think that's what it is. I'm pretty sure. And Polo wants me to call him to my office. I'm not doing that. That's sick.
Just saying, if you had hired him, because you said you would want to hire somebody with that name, just saying that would be the perfect guy to have around, because
he's around, lingering.
I mean, he's literally exactly. He's literally lingering.
And if he ever came to my office and I didn't know it, I would know it as soon as I walked in. Hey, Lingergas.
I mean, you would definitely not say to close the door.
No. Leave the door. In
To be
fact,
safe.
use the door as a fan. I think you do that with the door, don't you? I think you do.
I say just stay by the door.
All right. When we come back, your thoughts on this. By the way, Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary for President Trump for the White House, comes out swinging today. She's got receipts. She's calling out those who are allowing for illegal immigration and giving them free money. She's not playing games with Caitlin Collins, asking about, why don't you let AP come in here because they won't call it the Gulf of America? Right. It's now the Gulf of America. If you're a news organization, call it that. You're going to have all that and then some, plus your phone calls. Bottom of the hour, it'll be Mark Lamb, former sheriff, Pinal County, Arizona, good friend of ours. We're going to break down an awful lot that you want broken down. Not broken wind, Sam, broken down. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
I think you do. All right, listen, 833-JOE-PAGS, 833-563-7247, or joepags.com. Scroll down, click on contact. But while you're there, click on the TikTok link. If you're on TikTok, go check out the latest video. Caroline Leavitt bringing the receipts. It's going nuts. Or you can go to Instagram, click on Instagram, go there, and you can check it out as well. And you can find, I'm going to play that audio and video here. You can get a head start by going to the website, joepags.com. Don't forget about that yo-yo dieting and how unhealthy it is for you. You don't want to lose a bunch of weight, then gain even more back. And then do it again, gain even more back. That stresses your entire system. It could increase your risk of heart attack, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and other health problems. Stop the yo-yo dieting. Stop the roller coaster dieting. Break free of that by going and getting yourself some lean. Lean is a supplement, not an injection. You don't need a prescription. Everybody's talking about the prescriptions lately. If you don't want that, I don't like that sort of thing. Get lean. The science behind lean is impressive. It's studied natural ingredients, target weight loss in 3 powerful ways. Lean helps maintain healthy blood sugar. It helps control appetite and cravings, and it helps burn fat by converting fat into energy, which is exactly what you want. You're tired of losing weight, getting it right back again on that yo-yo diet system. If you want to lose meaningful weight at a healthy pace and keep it off, Lean was created for you. Let me get you started with 20% off right now. Enter PAGS20 at takelean.com, TAKELEAN.com. That's code PAGS20 at takelean.com. We're back after this.
Joe Pags.
Claire.
Good to see everybody. I appreciate you hanging out. Thanks. Bit subs, gift subs over on Twitch. Memberships, gift memberships, and Rumble, and I should say Super Chats over on YouTube. And again, we appreciate you, Chris, hooking us up. And over on Rumble, Rumble Rants, subs and gift subs. Let's go. I appreciate you stopping by. Thanks. We're seeing transparency from this administration like we've never seen. Caroline Levitt walks out every day and goes right at the reporters. Goes right at, showing the receipts for what Doge is uncovering. By the way, there's a brand new website for Doge that I know Sam and I are going to be spending a lot of time on. I'm going to show it to you if you're watching. It is literally doge.gov, doge.gov. Department of Government Efficiency. Boom. There you go. Scroll down. Department of Government Efficiency. Federal employees' retirement are processed using paper by hand in an old limestone mine in Pennsylvania. 700-plus mine workers operate 230 feet underground to process 10,000 applications per month, which are stored in manila envelopes and cardboard boxes. The retirement process, that it actually links to X, process takes multiple months. I mean, that is not efficient. That's not even close to being efficient. And he shows exactly where it's being done.
I have to say, if you hit refresh, it looks completely different.
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. No, it looks the same.
Okay. Well, if you click on some of the side things, it breaks it down for you.
Does it really?
If you click the little burger, and it gives you so much broken down information, like agencies, numbers, how much people are getting paid. It's just incredible. And I'm literally obsessed with this website already. And I can't wait to study it tonight.
I'm going to be making some videos from that website. It's going to be very simple to make the videos, I'll be honest with you. I just think it's awesome. I just think it's the best. Definitely want to hear from you, 833-JOE-PAGS. And again, it's doge.gov, doge.gov. Go there and check it out. Let me give you some Caroline Levitt. She's bringing it like it's been brought in.
Just like the young gentleman that I brought.
That is not Caroline Levitt. In fact, that's Donald Trump, our president, talking about bringing back Mark Fogel.
Just like the young gentleman that I brought home yesterday after 2 weeks. We worked on it for 2 weeks. It was a fine man, and he was in there for 3.5, almost 4 years, and they weren't able to do a thing, and I got him out. And as you know, I didn't pay $6 billion. I didn't pay anything. We did a trade, and we did a good job. We got him out in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, and he's out. Biden either didn't try or couldn't get him out in years. And then here's Caroline Levitt.
Before I take questions, I would like to address an extremely dishonest narrative that we've seen emerging over the past few days. Many outlets in this room have been fear-mongering the American people into believing there is a constitutional crisis taking place here at the White House. I've been hearing those words a lot lately. But in fact, the real constitutional crisis is taking place within our judicial branch, where district court judges in liberal districts across the country are abusing their power to unilaterally block President Trump's basic executive authority. We believe these judges are acting as judicial activists rather than honest arbiters of the law, and they have issued at least 12 injunctions against this administration in the past 14 days, often without citing any evidence or grounds for their lawsuits. This is part of a larger concerted effort by Democrat activists and nothing more than the continuation of the weaponization of justice against President Trump. Quick news flash to these liberal judges who are supporting their obstructionist efforts: 77 million Americans voted to elect this president. And each injunction is an abuse of the rule of law and an attempt to thwart the will of the people. As the president clearly stated in the Oval Office yesterday, we will comply with the law in the courts, but we will also continue to seek every legal remedy to ultimately overturn these radical injunctions and ensure President Trump's policies can be enacted.
Absolute badass. Walks out and calls them out. Because if you watched any of the left legacy media, they are all in collusion. Not only do they send an email out to each other or a text, they're all saying constitutional crisis. It's not. Article 2 clearly spells out the executive powers, and no, judges don't have the ability to tell the executive to not do something in his own branch. Now, is there oversight? Certainly. Checks and balances? Certainly. He's not doing anything that's unconstitutional. Nothing. USAID is in the executive branch. So what's the question? DHS, FEMA, they're all in the executive branch. What's the question? Now, if the president sees fraud and wants to stop the payments from going out fraudulently, he has the right to do that. Yeah, but Congress appropriated the money. Shut up. If they appropriated the money to an organization that's using it illegally, the president has the right to stop it. He's the boss of the executive. Then there's this.
Illegal alien criminals continue to be arrested and sent home as part of the ongoing mass deportation effort of the Trump administration.
I love that she's been doing this as well. She brings out pictures of and names of and which office got them of bad guys, criminals that have committed crimes in the United States that are here illegally and who are being deported.
Just this week, 2 planes with 190 Venezuelan illegal aliens arrived in the Venezuelan capital from Fort Bliss, Texas. Here are some of the criminal illegal aliens who were arrested in the country this past week. ICE Atlanta arrested a citizen of Nigeria who had been convicted of money laundering. ICE San Antonio arrested a citizen of Mexico who had been convicted of assault. ICE Denver arrested a citizen of Mexico who had been convicted of aggravated assault. And ICE Houston arrested a citizen of Mexico who had been convicted of aggravated assault.
Most transparent administration I've seen probably in my life. Unbelievably transparent. Walking out and saying what's what. Walking out and here are the receipts. Here are the bad guys we caught. They're going back. Here are the receipts. I'm going to have this for you coming up. You can go check it out now on TikTok at Joe Pags or on Instagram at Joe Talk Show. Caroline Levitt walked out earlier, and she actually brought with her a list of receipts that they printed off just from what Doge found, and it's more stuff that you don't want and I don't want. Unless you want something to do with global warming or climate change in Sri Lanka to be paid for with millions of your dollars, unless you want that, even if you're for doing something different about so-called climate change, you can't be for sending it over to Sri Lanka, can you? There's something very wrong with the lack of accountability and the lack of transparency that we've lived under for the past several decades. Well, now you've got somebody in there in President Trump who gets it. He did 4 years earlier, learned a lot. Now he's going to do his 4 years here. And this entire time, we're going to be kept abreast of what's going on. Keep it here. Former Sheriff Mark Lamb when we come back on the Joe Pags Show. Stay here.
Don't be an A-dub. Stay with the Joe Pags Show.
Clark.
Hey guys on the phone lines, thanks so much for listening and calling in. We are going to be doing a great interview here, so I do have to let you run, but keep listening and definitely call back soon. You should definitely check out those tabs on that website. I'm obsessed.
You must be on your phone because I don't see any hamburger.
No, that's why I was like, no, just hit refresh, because I was seeing the same page, and then I hit refresh, and they're all on the top.
I see savings, workforce regulations, join and about.
Yeah, click any of them. Not savings. That's the one that doesn't work.
It's a lot there. It's a lot there.
Right?
All right, I'll deep dive later. Definitely going to spend a lot of time on that tonight for sure.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like they went so far to in each department. For example, the Department of Agriculture, they've submitted things, laws, I guess, that have like 7 million words, but only 21,000 sections of regulation. I don't know why. It's just they laid it all out. It's crazy.
Love it. Mary Todd, thanks. I appreciate the resub. Let's go. It's a lot of months. Yeah, your link didn't show up. You can see it, Texas, but it just is 3 asterisks to everybody else. Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Glad to have this man back. I can't call him sheriff anymore. What is that? Mark, what is that I can't call you Sheriff Mark Lamb? I guess I could. Would we say Sheriff Mark Lamb retired? What would we say?
You still use sheriff. Like I call sheriffs that haven't been sheriffs for 20 plus years. You still call them sheriff. It's kind of like, being a doctor or judge. You kind of carry it with you for a long time. But I am getting used to the former part. That one's a little weird. It's
it is.
With everything going on, I'd still love to be in the fight. I'm doing the best I can from a civilian standpoint.
By the way, Sheriff Mark Lamb, Pinal County, Arizona, he was term limited, so he couldn't run for re-election. You couldn't run again, right?
No, I wasn't term limited, but when I ran for the U.S. Senate,
Gotcha. You couldn't do both.
Together, and I picked the U.S. Senate. I lost. For everybody out there, I lost. And so I couldn't do the sheriff thing again. And so my last day was December 31st.
Is that the future, by the way, Sheriff? Is that, are you political? Are you somebody who wants to work on closing the border? Do you want to do something in media? What's the future for you? Because I think the sky's the limit. You know that I feel that about you. What's the next step?
Well, I appreciate that, but I'm not a politician. I'm a patriot who loves God, family, freedom, and the Constitution. That's why I'm into politics anyway, because I thought law enforcement needed better leadership and people that would stand up for what is right. That's how I became a sheriff. Then I thought there was problems at the federal government, so I ran for Senate. But I think I'm going to stay active in border stuff. I'm working with FAIR, the Federation for American Immigration Reform, which does great work as far as policy for immigration, border security.
Right.
They're working on mobilizing more sheriffs to be involved in this.
That's where we met. At the FAIR event in Washington. It was almost 10 years ago, something like that. It's a long time ago. But they do a great job, and I'm glad that you're affiliated with them. Let's talk about the sea change at the border. I'm hearing numbers from Caroline Levitt of 90, 93%. One person said 95% lower illegal crossings. You're still in Pinal County, Arizona. Is that what you're saying? And the guy who's the sheriff now is the guy that you endorsed, right?
Absolutely. And I just talked to him and our chief deputy.
What's he saying?
And they said that we're not seeing the human load vehicles on the I-10 like we used to see. We are still getting a few drug loads here and there. But what we're seeing is what's being pushed. So I'm a unique county because I have an Indian reservation on the south end of the county.
Right.
That actually had no wall whatsoever. It's just like wide open. So the cartels during the first Trump administration pushed people through there to the point where we would have more apprehensions than a border county. They're going back to that now, Joe. So we're seeing that. But I talked to the Yuma guy. He said he had 9 in one day. Daniels is having a lot of success over in his area in Cochise County. So right now it's working good. The messaging's landing and the enforcement of the law is landing.
Have you talked to Border Patrol agents? I know that you know a lot of them, or those who work for either Border Patrol or ICE in general. They've got to feel like somebody in Washington has their back now, right?
Oh, absolutely. We were just at a National Sheriff's Association conference last week. talking with Border Patrol, ICE, all of the federal partners. They're loving it. They're able to go out and do their job, especially Border Patrol and CBP and ICE. They're able to have the handcuffs taken off, and they're doing what they were actually got into this job to do, and what they're good at. And so they're loving it. It's a lot of work. This last administration let, at minimum 12 to 15 million people come in.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work to do. And
I think that's probably a low number. Where Marco Rubio says it was 11 million in before. Like back in 2016, it was already 11 million. So add on to that with what the past 4 years did, he thinks it might be as high as 20 or 25 million. Would you be surprised if it were that high?
No, I think the number in America that are people that are here illegally is probably 40 to 60 million.
Wow. Can you imagine? Now, you've dealt with drug cartels a lot. You've dealt with what they do: human trafficking, drug trafficking, sex trafficking, all of this stuff, and then some. A lot of that money flow, billions, I think it's 13 billion a year, something like that, has stifled because Trump said we're not playing this game anymore. But they're adjusting. They're not going to stop their dastardly deeds. What adjustments do you think the cartels will make, and how can law enforcement stay in front of that?
Well, I hear from inside sources that this also creates a problem for the Mexican government officials because there's deals going on there. And the cartels are oftentimes, either the government's going to hold and get their share, or the cartel's going to get their share. But there's going to be a lot of infighting, a lot of jockeying for nobody wants to find out that they were helping the cartel all along. Nobody wants to be ratted out for that. And then you're going to have this power vacuum along the border with the Chapitos, the Zambalas, your CJNG.
Right.
Those are all groups that are going to now be fighting for less money. It's going to be a lot less money to go around. So I think it's going to get a little dicey along the border with these cartels.
Well, Mark, and by the way, it's former Sheriff Mark Lamb, formerly of Pinal County. Well, still of Pinal County. See, I'm confused. Mark, I don't even know what to say. It's Sheriff Mark Lamb, Pinal County, Arizona. Sue me. SheriffLamb.com is the website, SheriffLamb.com. We'll get into supportoursheriffs.org in a minute. In dealing with what's going on in the cartels or on the border with the cartels, it's not like some high-level cartel person. Who is it that they use as their mules? Do they go and kidnap people and say, now you've got to go and be a mule or else I'm going to kill your family? Is it somebody who's a low-level member of the cartel? Who are the frontline people that the cartel doesn't care if they get caught or killed, that are doing all the really bad stuff across the border?
You know what the sad part is? It's Americans. Over
Is
the
it
last
really?
4 years, they went from 500 million to 13 billion, which gave them all this money to be able to distance themselves from the dirty work. And so what did they do? They hired children, kids, teenagers to come down and traffic people. They hired American citizens. They hired American citizens to push drugs. They're hiring gang members in local communities across this country to sell the drugs on the back end for the cartels. So they have, let me just illustrate that point. The sheriff's office in Cochise County a year ago, there are over 4,000 border-related crimes that they booked into their jail. But a year ago, it was about 3,400. Of those 3,400, only 198 of them were here illegally. That means that all of the rest of them were Americans being employed by these transnational criminal organizations to traffic humans and drugs into this country. I think that's going to change. They're not going to have that abundance of money to be able to hire Americans at $1,000 a body for trafficking.
It's unbelievable. I did not assume that Americans were doing this, but it makes sense if they're dumping a bunch of money their way. But let me ask you this, because you've dealt with the border for many years. When the people would come across the border during Biden, not Trump, during Biden, the kids would have wristbands on, right? And then there would be some phone number that you had to call. And then ICE was forced by this administration, or that administration, by Mayorkas and the other idiots, to just call the number and say, yeah, come and get them. And then, Mark, we start hearing about 300 to 500,000 kids that are missing. Do we literally not know where those kids are? Did we just hand them over to anybody without any idea whether they were a relative or not?
Yeah, that's for real. You know, a lot of them had the same address written down on either the wristbands or on their actual arms or on a piece of paper. And then they were so overwhelmed. It's not Border Patrol's job to find out where these kids got to go. They just pass them on to another government organization, which was then shipping these kids off to these addresses. But the majority of these addresses were probably the cartel's addresses. And then what they can't do is now they can't find these kids in the sense that when they reach out, they didn't show up for court, or they can't get a hold of the people that they send them to, or they show up and there's nobody at the address. Those are the reasons why they're saying that there was over 300,000 children that they couldn't find because they can't find them.
Is there any doubt, Mark, that these kids are either being used as drug mules or sex trafficked, or they're not just at somebody's house that's taking care of them? These people are being used as just human slaves, right?
There's no doubt. The question is how many? But one is too many, Joe. And
yeah.
I remember on The View, Dr. Phil was telling the ladies on The View, and don't get me wrong, I don't watch The View, so let's clear that up.
Well, you're not allowed to. You're a man. We're not allowed to watch The View. That's true.
But Dr. Phil was telling them this. He says, look, a lot of these children are ending up in the hard labor or the sex trade. And one of them had the audacity to say, is it some of them or is it all of them?
Wow.
The fact is, if it's one of them, it's a problem. But it's a really high number of these kids are being put in hard labor or the sex trade.
It's Sheriff Mark Lamb, Pinal County, Arizona, retired. Go to sherifflamb.com, sherifflamb.com. Follow him on all the social media as well. I think you're still beating me on Instagram, but I'm coming, Mark. I'm coming. I'm telling.
You're coming with.
I'm coming with the heat, man. No, we have to do another. We have to do another one of those things where we share our reel. When I was in Arizona, we did that. Did very, very well. Let me ask you this: is the reason why the border crossings between actual ports of entry is the reason why it's down so much? Because people have gotten word that Trump isn't playing? Is it because of actual enforcement at the border? Is it both? Is it more one than the other? Because I get the feeling that people know they're not going to get $5,000 on a card. They're not going to get a free phone, free stay at a luxury hotel. They probably won't come. So is it one over the other or not?
No, it's a combination of it. But really what I think the most important piece is this administration changed the messaging immediately, and their actions were in line with the messaging. And now there's reports of these groups turning back around and going back somewhere. They're not continuing on their trek. Listen, Joe, if you had sold everything you had and you raised $5,000 to $10,000, would you take the chance of paying that to the cartel with no guarantee that you're going to make it in?
No way.
That's now removing people. Remember, that $5,000 to $10,000 is probably the equivalent of $50,000 to $100,000 for American families. So the average American is not going to put that money out if it's not a sound investment. And now that this administration is securing the border and enforcing the law, these folks are a little bit more concerned that that's not a sound investment anymore.
You were the first guy. By the way, I just checked Instagram. I am kicking your ass. I passed you. That's weird. Mark, what's going on? Raise your game.
Instagram's got their boot on my throat. They won't let it off.
Well, I'll help. I promise I will. You were the first guy, and boy, you took a lot of heat for this. You told the story of up to $5,000 free cash on some card that the taxpayers were paying for everybody who was coming across illegally. You had actual proof. You were showing the cards. How did you stay strong through that? And I'm not kissing up. I mean, you literally could have just folded very quickly, but instead you said, no, I've got proof. They were fact checking you, debunking you, calling you a liar. How do you find strength in knowing that you know what you know and you're not going to have somebody push you around?
Jordan Peterson has a great quote. He says, you have to have faith in the redeeming power of truth. And when you know it's the truth and when you know it's what's right, it doesn't matter how hard it gets. You got to stand in the storm. You got to stay in there. And 3 weeks after that, Joe, then all these things started coming out that the UN admitted they'd given $1.6 billion in gift cards to people coming into this country.
Yep.
The state of Washington admitted they were giving gift cards and checks out. Other NGOs started admitting they were giving gift cards. I knew it was the truth, so I wasn't going to be bullied into saying to not standing by the truth. But you know what? They never corrected that. If you go on some of those sites, it still says that my information or my video was false.
Wow.
The reality is they're the ones that are lying. They're the ones that are false. And they were shills for the government.
100%. Sherifflamb.com, sherifflamb.com. Follow him on social media everywhere. When you were still in office and you were dealing with all this border stuff, were you in contact with FEMA? Did FEMA send you guys any money in Pinal County, Arizona? I just don't understand. FEMA admitted on their own website, their .gov website, that they spent $1.4 billion between the two recent fiscal years. $1.4 billion just helping out illegals get, again, food, shelter, clothes, free money, all that stuff. Then they lied about it and said they didn't use any of FEMA money, but again, it's on the website. So when you're actually frontline with the Sheriff's Department, Pinal County, Arizona, Do you deal with FEMA on that level or not?
No, FEMA wasn't giving us money. They were giving NGOs money. They were giving $650 million last year. And like you said, before that, it was like $700 million.
Right.
It comes through the Shelter and Services Program through FEMA, through DHS. And they were taking that money that should have been around to use for the people in North Carolina,
yes,
California. But instead, they used that money and they were shoveling it out towards the NGO as well. Right before the election and right before Trump took over, President Trump took over, they were shelling that money out, getting rid of it before the new administration came in. But it was $650 million that was allocated for the Shelter and Services Program last year. They probably gave more than that, but
well, I'm sure they probably did. USAID probably sent some money that we can't find. Having said that, that was never supposed to be FEMA's job. As you said, it's supposed to be for Western North Carolina, maybe East Palestine, Ohio. Maybe it should be for the Southern California fires, as you said. So FEMA's job was never to do that. In fact, I'll have the former administrator, Michael Brown, on tomorrow to talk about what the job is supposed to be. But let me ask you this. If FEMA would not have supported those NGOs, would that not have slowed the traffic into Pinal County and all across the border? FEMA literally, by spending money to the NGOs, they were incentivizing illegal immigration, no?
Absolutely. You know, I was very vocal about this, Joe. I kept saying that these NGOs were aiding and abetting in the trafficking of human beings. When I was face-to-face with Mayorkas at a sheriff's conference, one of the last things I said to him is, you have to tell President Biden to stop funding these NGOs. Not only did they ignore that, they just continued to fund them. The NGOs were a big problem. That's why people kept coming into this country, because they were getting a soft landing from taxpayer dollars funneled through these NGOs. The reason why they use the NGOs, Joe, and this is what happened with me when I brought that up, when I did that video, is because the government can say, it's not us. Because the government was giving it to NGOs. They were actually the ones buying the gift cards, the plane tickets, and all that stuff, the hotel rooms. And the government would say, not us. But it was them. They were giving the money to the NGOs. The NGOs were doing the dirty work.
Well, it's like Fauci saying I didn't do gain of function. I gave money to somebody else who then they did the gain of function. And at the end of the day, Fauci did the gain of function. So you're right. They can try to circumvent it all they want. These NGOs have to be defunded because they're literally giving maps and giving food and shelter along the way. Here's how you get to that border. And that's not okay. Why would I ever want to pay for that? It doesn't make any sense. It's Mark Lamb, former sheriff, Pinal County, Arizona. Go to sherifflamb.com. Tell me about supportoursheriffs.org. What is this?
So we just started an organization called Support Our Sheriffs Foundation. There is no real mechanism in place to help sheriff's offices across this country, whether it's with resources, whether it's with training, or in those unfortunate incidents where somebody is seriously injured or killed in the line of duty. We want to be able to swoop in, hand that family a check, and be able to help them, help those agencies get the training that they need, help them have the resources and the technology they need to be able to do their jobs well. And this is going to be a nationwide thing. We kicked it off at the National Sheriff's Office Winter Conference in D.C. a couple of weeks ago. We're going to be just rolling it out this year. So if you want to come support us, come to supportoursheriffs.org. We're going to be doing great things, and it's a way that you can support the great men and women of our sheriff's offices across this country.
And if you need my help, make sure that you let me know. Supportoursheriffs.org. I love the organization. I'm a big, strong supporter of the blue, but sheriffs are the last line of defense, honestly, between the people and bureaucracy. Sheriffs are elected by the people, as you very well know. Police chiefs aren't. They're appointed, they're hired by a city council, a county commission, whatever. I'm not anti-police chief, don't get me wrong, but they're answerable to some bureaucracy. You guys aren't, right?
That's right. We are standalone. We represent the people. That's the beauty of the sheriff. The sheriff's sole responsibility is to represent the people that elected him to that office. And it is such an important position. It is the last line of defense for our freedoms and protecting us in this country. While there's police agencies do great jobs, the sheriff's is a state constitutionally elected position, and it is important for freedom.
Go right now, supportoursheriffs.org. Go and support this great organization. Go and follow Sheriff Mark Lamb right now on all the socials. Maybe, Mark, you can catch up to me. I appreciate you coming on, brother. Listen, keep up the great work. Let's do this again very soon. Thanks a million.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, my man. We're back after this. Stay right here.
This is the Joe Pags Show.
Clear.
One in the chat, one in the chat, one in the chat. Let's go. Appreciate you. Bit subs, gift subs over on Twitch. Also memberships, gift memberships, and super chats on YouTube. Again, Curtis earlier gave us a super chat for $100. That's why you're still up on YouTube. Otherwise, we couldn't monetize. And Rumble rants, and also subs and gift subs. Always a pleasure to have Sheriff Mark Lamb on. Yes, he is no longer the sheriff. Yes, he is now retired. He ran for U.S. Senate, so he couldn't run for sheriff again. But the guy's going to land somewhere helping out the American people for sure. Another big hour coming your way. Don't miss Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Adicott. Stay here.
This is the Joe Pags Show.
Clear.
All right, people, good to have you. Top of the hour break. Going to go grab another soda and stretch my legs. Be back for hour number 3 coming up. Don't miss it.
The Joe Pag Show will start in 5 minutes. The Joe Pag Show will start in 4 minutes. The Joe Pag Show will start in 3 minutes. The Joe Pag Show will start in 2 minutes.
I think we got a Rumble rant. You give a Rumble rant for 5 smacks. Thank you.
The Joe Pag Show will start in 1 minute.
If you didn't, maybe you can. I'm just saying.
This is the Joe Pag Show. To talk to Joe, call 888-941-PAGS. And now, it's Joe Pags.
Great radio stations across the land, also streaming, plus the podcast. Go check that out on the weekend, maybe late at night. You missed something or you heard something that you liked, you want to go hear it again, it's going to be in the podcast. Go check it out. JoePags.com, Spotify, Megaphone. It's all over Apple Podcasts and, of course, iHeart. So go check that out. We want you to go to download the podcast and enjoy it. A lot more people are doing that. That is Sam. That is Polo. I am Joe. We've got Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Adicott on the program today. Going to talk about Ukraine and Russia. Trump has spoken to both Putin and Zelensky. So that's good. You want to get it to a place to where enough is enough. No more dying. Also, we talk about Gaza. Can Trump really take Gaza? Was that really the plan, or was he planning on doing something else? Because all of a sudden, the King of Jordan is in Washington, D.C., talking to President Trump. And then, of course, we've got the situation with Panama. Can we just take the Panama Canal back? Break it all down with Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Adicott. Don't miss a second of that. All right, finally a win in the courts for the Trump administration. And there are going to be a lot of wins like this. There are going to be a lot of people on the left continuing to try to take him to court and sue him to stop him from doing our work. He knows, and we know, that we want him to get more efficient. We want government to stop spending money like crazy. We want to pare down the size of government. And remember, President Trump offered a buyout to a bunch of federal workers. President Trump offered a buyout to a bunch of people who are making a lot of money and are redundant or are doing jobs that others are already doing. It was tens of thousands of people. And then a judge halted the offer for a buyout. Nope, you can't do that. You can't buy him out. Just some liberal dork judge. Well, now here's the headline. It's pretty good news. Judge allows Trump's buyout offer for federal workers to proceed. Here's what it includes. From Kate Murphy, reporter with Yahoo News. In a win for the Trump administration, a federal judge on Wednesday, some would call that today, decided a government buyout program offered to millions of federal employees could proceed. I know it was millions, but okay. U.S. District Judge George O'Toole Jr., who had previously issued a temporary restraining order blocking the deferred resignation program from continuing while he heard arguments in a lawsuit brought by federal employees union, said Wednesday today that the unions lacked standing because they were not directly impacted by the buyouts. The Trump administration made the buyout offer last month in an effort to reduce the size of the federal workforce. More than 2 million federal employees were told that if they resigned, they'd get paid with benefits through the end of September without having to work. The offer has been met with criticism, including the lawsuit from the unions representing federal employees and politicians who say there's no real guarantee people would get paid because Congress hasn't allocated the funds. More than 65,000 people, that's where I got the number, 65,000. More than 65,000 employees, nearly 3% of the government, made up of 2.3 million, have signed up for the offer as of Monday. NPR News reported that very case. The Trump administration's goal is to have 5% to 10% of the federal workforce resign, and the administration expects up to $100 billion in savings if that target is met. Here's what that offer entails. The short version is the federal employees accept the buyout. If they do, they would only have to work until February 28th, would be exempt from the new return-to-office work requirements, and would be put on paid administrative leave no later than March 1st, according to the contract sent out by the Office of Personnel Management. They will retain full salary and benefits without having to work through September 30th, 2025. There you go. Okay. That's a win. That's the first win in these lawsuits for the Trump administration, but it's a good one. 65,000 people have already signed up for it. I'm guessing a lot more will sign up for it now, knowing that the courts say that Trump can do this. Now, let me ask you something. If you can go without working March through September, would you be okay with, and throughout the entire month of September, by the way? So March, April, May, June, July, August, September, 7 months. No working. Benefits continue. Full salary continues. You don't have the work requirement of going back to the office, which has been instituted by this administration. You got to go back to the office. Would you take it? I'm here to say yes. Absolutely, you take it. You take it, and during that 7 months, you can go and get another job. Why not double dip? There's nothing in there that says you can't go get another job. So take the month of March or April off. Just take the whole month off, getting full salary, full benefits. Go and get a job that starts May 1st or even June 1st. Double dip, June, July, August, September. 4 months of double pay in the private sector. There's really no downside. Sam, is there a downside we can figure out? Hey, there's Sam.
No.
There is
not
no
yet.
downside. Polo, downside?
No.
I mean, double dip it. Why not? Go in there and make a bunch of extra, get 3 extra jobs, and still get your full salary from the government. Now, I realize that people of the current generation, some, because there are some really cool Gen Zers out there, weren't brought up to go and work 5 jobs. I get it. I was brought up to work as many jobs as I could. I can't remember a time I had less than 3 jobs. And that's great. I want to have all those jobs. I want to keep on working. I'm working until 2, 3 o'clock every morning, doing videos, editing video, doing whatever I have to do, setting up a guest, doing audio for the stations, whatever I have to do. I'm down. I want to do it. Some people aren't used to that. And that's cool. So work a second job. Fill in the blank, whatever job you want it to be, you're getting full pay. What I'm suggesting is don't sit back and just not do anything on top of that extra pay that you're getting. You now have an opportunity, first time probably in your life, to have full-time pay and not have to work a second. I think it's a pretty good deal. I'm glad that deal went through, I'll be honest with you. 833-JOE-PAGS, 833-563-7247, joepags.com. Let me bring you more Caroline Levitt. Again, she's not playing around. She brings the receipts, by the way.
As for the actual receipts, we are happy to provide them, and I actually brought some today because all of you know I love to bring the receipts. We have contracts upon contracts that we can send and provide this information to you. Let me be very clear. We are not trying to hide anything. We have been incredibly transparent, and we will continue to be. These are screenshots of contracts that DOJ found across our government. This is a DEI contract, $36,000 for U.S. citizenship and immigration services. That is against the president's policies and his America First agenda. This is a $3.4 million contract, a Council for Inclusive Innovation at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, Department of Commerce, another
DEI. That's DEI, and it's millions of dollars.
DEI contract that DOJ identified. I can continue to go through these. Oh, I love this one. $57,000 for climate change in Sri Lanka. What?
I'm sorry, climate change in Sri Lanka? $57,000 from you and me to go to a place most of us can't find on a map for climate change.
What is this doing to continue the interests of the American people? Absolutely nothing. These are the line items across the federal government that DOJ is identifying daily. They're moving very fast. There's a lot of paper that we can show you, but we're happy to do it. This administration has been more than transparent about what DOJ is doing. And here's one of their tweets that they posted about the mine. I believe this is in Pennsylvania, where the federal employee retirement system is being processed. Did anybody know this was even happening in our country before Elon Musk talked about it in the Oval Office yesterday? A lot of Americans didn't. So we are providing transparency and accessibility on a daily basis when it comes to DOJ. And I also have a DOJ daily report, if anybody would like it, on all of the things that they are identifying and finding. We're happy to provide this information to you. We're talking about it every single day.
Completely transparent. It's all right. Oh, you want a DOJ report? You want line by line? You want pictures? And then the reporters think that they are going to ask some tough questions now. What's the question? The question should be, Caroline, can I have that report, please? That's the question. Then you do your story on that, because that's real news. If you're arguing about DOJ and you're arguing about the transparency, you're not real news. You're actually fake news, and you're only doing it because you want to sidetrack this administration somehow. And she doesn't stop there. Caroline Levitt on an absolute tear.
First of all, on the inflation point, we did receive those numbers, and they were worse than expected, which tells us that the Biden administration indeed left us with a mess to deal with. It's far worse than I think anybody anticipated, because unfortunately the previous administration was not transparent in where the economy truly was. We know people at this very podium told the American people that inflation was transitory and that it would go away. That was not the case. And now the last report of the Biden administration, as revealed today, shows that inflation is still about 4.5% higher over the past 3 months. This is an indictment on the Biden administration's mismanagement of the inflation crisis and their lack of transparency in addressing it.
Well over 4%, that inflation, 4.5%, still sky high for the American people. The Biden administration literally pushed through $1 trillion, $1.3 trillion, something like that, law calling it the Inflation Reduction Act, which didn't. It was really green energy. It was really about so-called climate change. It wasn't about reducing inflation. It never did anything to reduce inflation. 4.5% inflation. Are you crazy? And that's legacy from him or from Harris or from Blinken or Sullivan, whomever. It's from that horrible administration that was trying to bankrupt us. And now the complicit legacy media is freaking out because this administration wants us to start getting more efficient. This administration would like to see us spend less. This administration would like to see us employ fewer federal workers. The freak out is real because the system that they had going, which was just ask Biden about what flavor of ice cream he likes, let KJP say anything she wants because she's intersectional, don't question anything, and if the inflation sucks or the economy sucks, blame the previous administration, Trump, even though he gave them, what was it, 1.6% inflation? Even through a pandemic? I mean, I love this. They have no answer. They just don't. They have no answers to what she's saying. And you hear them when she's done, making her point. They're all starting to get all ginned up, and they're going to ask some tough question now. Your question's going to suck. It's going to be stupid because you're not a reporter. You're somebody who basically worked for the previous administration. Caitlin Collins jumps in a little while because Caitlin Collins, who, of course, used to work for the Daily Caller, used to be more conservative, used to appear on Fox News, but now she's on CNN, and now she's the hard-hitting lefty. She, for some reason, is in the press room every day. She wasn't under Biden. Just wasn't. Where was she? She wasn't there. She thinks that she's going to hold this administration to task, and she asks something really stupid. And her chance to ask about anything, she uses her time and her question to defend the Associated Press, which has lost its ability to be in the Oval Office because it refused to call it the Gulf of America, which is what it is now. An order was signed. The Interior Secretary Burgum has said it is the Gulf of America. Even Google has changed it to the Gulf of America. The AP refuses to. They're calling it the Gulf of Mexico, and Trump said, that's it. You can't be in the Oval Office. Goodbye. They're still in the press room. They're still asking questions. They're still in the press pool, but they can't go to the Oval Office. You can't just lie and call it something it's not. If you don't like the new name, that's your problem. That's what it is now. That's what it is. I mean, when they changed the names of all the military bases and installations, did the AP say, screw it, I'm going to keep calling it Fort Bragg? They didn't. They called it the new name. Well, now that Hegseth has called it Fort Bragg again, are they going to call it Fort Bragg or are they going to call it the old name, the new old name of the new name? The AP doesn't get to decide things like that. Not even for a second. The AP gets to just report the news. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum did what President Trump wanted him to do, and we're now calling it the Gulf of America. Why is that so hard for the AP? Because they think that they can decide what the news is and form and shape the news. You can't. You actually have to just report what's out there if you're a reporter and a journalist. I'm surprised they still have a press pass to the press room. Fix yourself, AP. You're not the news of record. The news is the news. You just report it. 833-JOE-PAGS, 833-563-7247, joepags.com. It'll be Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Adicott about possibly ending the war in Ukraine, about Trump taking Gaza, about the latest developments in Panama, and more at the bottom of the hour. So in about, 13, 14 minutes from now, don't miss a second of that. Got to remind you about Eden Pure. The third generation Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier is finally here. They're always working on new research and development to try to make sure that you're getting exactly what you pay for. Make sure that you're getting that odor-fighting muscle that you want from this small profile. It's a good-looking unit. You plug it in. 2 different technologies now available. Flip a switch to use which one you want. And it's going to kill 99.9% of bacteria, viruses, mold, and more in the air. Removes dust, pet dander, smoke, whatever's floating around in the air, any odor that's out there. This is going to go and attack it. It's going to find it, address it, attack it, get rid of it. You don't have to have those cover-up sprays or those candles either. No filters to replace. The Thunderstorm is going to get rid of any smell. Guaranteed odors from litter boxes, trash cans, cigarette smoke, dirty diapers, musty smells in the basement, maybe some stinky shoes. Don't worry about it. Going to take care of it. Go right now. Save $200 on a 3-pack by going to EdenPureDeals.com. PAGS 3 is the code. EdenPureDeals.com, PAGS, the number 3. We're back after this.
You're listening to Joe Pags.
Clear.
Let's have the people stick around for Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Adicott. Anthony J. over on Rumble, becoming a sub, ended a Rumble rant of $10. Anthony, thank you. Watching on Rumble, living in Brazil. That's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that, Anthony. Oh, yeah, Earl. Thank you, Hoodie. I appreciate you. Always a pleasure. Thanks. I appreciate you stopping by. About 7-8 minutes away from Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Adicott, breaking down the latest developments on Gaza, latest developments on Ukraine, latest developments on Panama. Great conversation. In fact, we got a hold of him, pulled off the side of the road. He jumped on his FaceTime and did the interview. That's how much that he loves the audience of the Joe Pags Show. So make sure you stick around for Lieutenant Colonel Adicott coming up at about 33 minutes after the hour. Don't touch that dial. Let's go back to Caroline Levitt. This is Caitlin Collins, the host of that CNN. Is it called Caitlin Collins? I think it's just called her name, no? Over on CNN. I've never watched this show. I've seen video of her, and she looks like she might be smelling a fart at most times. Right, Sam?
Yeah, and her show's called The Source.
Oh, the source of why her nose is doing that. I think she is the source. What? It could be the source. So either way, she's in the press corps, and she's sitting in the press room, and she's asking stupid, loaded, dumb, backward questions every day. Today, she took her opportunity to defend the people at the Associated Press. Let me lay this out again. The Associated Press is refusing to call it the Gulf of America. They're calling it the Gulf of Mexico. Okay? It is not the Gulf of Mexico anymore, not here in the United States. Mexico might call it that, but the United States, the president signed an order on the way to the Super Bowl on Sunday, and Doug Burgum was there with him, I believe, or Doug Burgum commented later, and he agreed, Department of the Interior, we're now calling it on all our official documents the Gulf of America. The Associated Press doesn't have the right to just not report what it's become. They don't have the right. I mean, they can legally say, because of the First Amendment, that it's the Gulf of Mexico, but they're incorrect journalistically. So Caitlin Collins is responding to President Trump saying the AP cannot be in the Oval Office as part of the gaggle. You don't want to call it what it is? Then you don't get to be, that's a privilege to be in the Oval Office. It's not a right. And again, they're allowing them to be in the press room, but the Associated Press really oversteps its boundaries here. So Collins decides to use her time to address that.
The right to decide who gets to go into the Oval Office, and you all have credentials to be here, including the Associated Press, who is in this briefing room today.
But isn't it retaliatory in nature is the argument, because the reason that the AP was barred, which they said was because they're not using the phrase Gulf of America, they're using Gulf of Mexico in line with their standards. And so the question here is this setting a precedent that this White House will retaliate against reporters who don't use the language that you guys believe reporters should use? And how does that
in line with their standards? You know, she slipped that in there. Using Gulf of America in line with their standards. What are their standards? To not actually report the news?
in line with the First Amendment commitment that you were just talking about?
I was very upfront in my briefing on day one that if we feel that there are lies being pushed by outlets in this room, we are going to hold those lies accountable. And it is a fact that the body of water off the coast of Louisiana is called the Gulf of America. And I'm not sure why news outlets don't want to call it that, but that is what it is. The Secretary of Interior has made that the official designation in the...
What's the question? What's the question? I mean, that's the bottom line. Ken, very quickly about the Gulf. Come on.
Yeah, when I spent time in Saudi Arabia, the Persian Gulf, which is a major shipping route for oil coming out of Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Iran, when you're in Saudi Arabia, I was looking out at the Persian Gulf and commenting on it, and I was quickly corrected by the Saudis. That is the Arabian Gulf.
Wow.
They don't call it the Persian Gulf. So for us to change the name from Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America, it's not that unusual, and it's very appropriate. So the Saudis can do it. We can do it too.
Exactly right, Ken. Great stuff. Great point. Listen, you get to decide what you call it if you're in charge of the government. You get to. And it's not up to the Associated Press to decide, I'm going to agree with you or not. Not your job. Just do your job, which is reporting. It's now called the Gulf of America, and then move on and do something else. They're not getting the memo yet. 833-JOE-PAGS, joepags.com. Keep it right here.
Joe Pags.
Clear.
Yeah, Lynn, I wouldn't know about that. I don't think that that was said. I think they talked about the Outer Continental Shelf. I don't think they named the Gulf of Mexico specifically, but I'll look into it. Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Glad to have this man back as Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Adicott, the boss over at the Warrior Defense Fund. Make sure you go and help them out. And also, he's working on some stuff here in the state of Texas that we'll have him on again very soon. He's pushing a law for veterans and for looking out for people in the military as always. Jeff, how are you? Good to see you.
Doing good, Joe. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Thanks for jumping in the chair. I know that you're in your car. You stopped. You're on the side of the road. You're doing this for us, and I appreciate you. So much going on, though. I don't want to get into Ukraine and Russia yet, although that's today's news. I want to, because I haven't talked to you yet. Can Donald Trump and can the United States take Gaza? Can they say, hey, we're just going to take it?
Well, again, under the rule of law, Gaza is not a nation state.
What is it literally, Jeff? What do you call it?
Well, it's basically a territory that was once owned by Egypt, and Egypt gave it to Israel, and Israel gave it back to the Palestinians, but it's not a recognized nation state. So it's a geographic area that really has no international recognition as a nation state, and that's key because to have any influence at the United Nations or international law, generally you've got to be considered a nation state. Same with the West Bank.
Yeah.
So it's an unresolved area that the Security Council has indicated long ago that it's something for the Israelis to determine where the boundaries are going to be drawn once they have security. So it's really kind of up in the air. Can the president do it? Well, yes, he can, because the interested parties would be Egypt, Israel, Jordan, and the United States. But should he do it? That's another question.
War and Defense Project is what it is. He's the director there. It's Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Adicott. So if we just go by recent history, let's go to the late 70s. Egypt didn't want it, so Israel got it. Israel left in 2005, and the Palestinians then voted a terrorist organization, Hamas, as the government. Hamas attacked Israel October 7th, year and a half ago. And since then, Israel has completely demolished Gaza. But if you just go by the logistics of it, from 30,000 feet up, if I were to ask you who owns and who has rights over Gaza, that's still Israel, right?
Well, I would say it's a shared responsibility between Egypt and Israel.
Yeah, but Egypt doesn't want any part of these people.
No, Egyptians have washed their hands, and that's why President Trump is meeting with the King of Jordan, because there's many Palestinians in Jordan and also in the West Bank, which used to be Jordanian territory. So if this issue is going to be solved, you've got to have the Egyptians and the Jordanians as part of the solution. For too long, they have looked the other way. They haven't wanted to give up any of their land or do anything to facilitate a two-state solution or anything.
Well, the reason there isn't a two-state solution is the Palestinians. They've always said no. Israel was for it, but that couldn't happen if they're going to keep on attacking them. Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Adicott. So do you think that President Trump made the announcement about a week ago now? I think it was a week and a couple of days ago, that we're going to take Gaza. Do you think he says that because he wants to, or did he say that to get Jordan and Egypt and maybe Lebanon and others involved, maybe Saudi Arabia? Certainly Saudi Arabia would have to be involved. That's where Mecca is. Did he do that to get the region to get involved, to say, we'll jump in and help?
I think you're exactly right. I mean, the way Trump is as a negotiator, you've got a position here and a position here. He wants to get to this point. And how does he do that? Well, he simply takes an extreme position way outside the box. In fact, he thinks so far outside the box, you can't even see the box.
Right.
But really, he wants you to get into the middle position, which is, as you said, and you're correct, he's taken a position to get them to come to the middle, which would be the Egyptians and the Jordanians are going to have to take a lot of refugees into their territory as the rebuilding process occurs. And then they're going to have to strain out the people who they let come back in, because otherwise you're going to have Hamas reconstituting, and we're going to play this film all over again in a very short period of time.
So the King of Jordan is here, and you mentioned that. His wife is a Palestinian, by the way. As you said, a lot of Palestinians in Jordan, and Jordan's not necessarily happy about that, because I remember him saying, we're not going to take even one person from Gaza, no refugees. Egypt doesn't want them either. But is the next step the Egyptian president comes in? What happens now?
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is we give billions of dollars to Jordan and Egypt every year in foreign aid. So we've got some leverage over these two countries to cooperate. And the cooperation is going to have to be that they're going to have to be involved. And obviously, within the Palestinian community, there's a lot of terrorists that are embedded there. It's going to be difficult for these two countries because they don't want radical Islamic extremists in their land.
Right.
Egypt particularly just went through a horrible situation where radical Islamic extremists took over the country and they had to retake it. So, yeah, there's a lot of moving parts to this issue. But I think, President Trump is not serious, in my opinion, about sending in ground troops. The American people have no appetite for war. We've been at war in Afghanistan and Iraq for 20 years, and neither does he. He's just taking a negotiating position, as he did with the Panama Canal. We're going to take Panama back. He didn't really mean that. He just wanted the Panamanians to kick out the Chinese influence.
Well, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that in a second. I'm glad you went there. It's Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Adicott. Just to finish up on the Middle East, if Jordan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia all say, yeah, we want to take part in redeveloping Gaza and make something better than we've had, does Iran dare try something or not?
No, the Iranians are not going to do anything. They know that they are a fraction of an inch away from being militarily attacked by Israel with the support of the Trump administration. And quite frankly, in my opinion, that needs to occur. The Israelis should have already done it. They had justification on two occasions when the Iranians unprovokedly attacked Israel with missiles, but they didn't do it. So the Iranians are shaking in their boots right now. And oh, by the way, in my opinion, the vast majority of the Iranian people, they don't want to be ruled by a totalitarian, group of individuals that are religious fanatics. They want freedom. They want peace as well. And I think, that can occur in the next 4 years. I'm confident we're going to see a change in the Iranian regime.
Well, how does that look, Jeff? Because we know that under Biden and under Obama, they weren't going to meddle in the affairs of the Islamic Republic. But with President Trump, the saber rattling certainly does calm down. How can President Trump, without using our military, I don't want that, I don't think you want that, I don't think he wants that, without using our military, how does he support the Iranian people rising up and taking back, their country from this theocracy? Do you need the military on board with them? How does that look?
Same thing he did in the first term, embargo. You cut off their flow economically until the regime collapses from within. And that's what President Trump is going to do unless the Iranians do exactly what he wants them to do, which is open up all your nuclear facilities, dismantle, disarm, inspectors everywhere. If you don't do that, I'm going to squeeze you like an orange until you are no more. So we don't have to use our military. We can simply use economic pressure in cooperation with our allies to basically bankrupt the country.
Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Attica, we'll get into Ukraine and Russia in a second. You brought up Panama. Jimmy Carter gives it back for $1. President Trump has said 38,000 Americans died building it. It was ours. Panama didn't exist. Many people don't know this. It was Colombia. Colombia owned that strip of land, and basically we helped them become an independent country. Why they thought that they could accept the Chinese in and give them all the power to overcharge us for bringing our ships and cargo through is beyond me. But again, you don't think President Trump wants Panama, but do you think he wants control of the Panama Canal? Or is he just trying to get the leaders there to do what he wants?
Yeah, I think it's the latter. He wants the leaders to do what he wants, and that is to provide us the benefits. We should have special benefits. We should have reduced cost or no cost at all to move our shipping through.
Right.
Because without us, you wouldn't exist, and the canal would not exist. So for too long, people have had the attitude that America needs to support the world. We are the world. We need to be the doormat for the world. This agenda has changed. And again, it's the American people voted for President Trump by a majority. And so for too long, we have allowed people to take advantage of us, and not just the terrorists, but also the Panama Canal, and no more. So if we get into a conflict with the Chinese, it's critical that we have that free flow of trade through the Panama Canal. I was there in the Panama Canal when it was finally handed over in 1999. I was in Quarry Heights for 6 months, part of that last American soldiers that planted the flag there. And it's all about the money. I mean, you got corrupt politicians everywhere, and the Chinese are using their influence and their money to bribe people and do what they want to do. And Trump is using the big stick. And it's effective. I mean, it's working.
Yeah.
In 3 weeks, look what he's done.
Unbelievable. Now, Jeff, it's unbelievable. In fact, I was going to ask you this next. How is he able to negotiate to get these hostages back? I mean, you got the guy Fogel back from Russia. Took him 3 weeks to get him back. Biden couldn't do it for 3.5 years. And then I think somebody was it Belarus? We just had somebody somewhere else that he just got released as well. How is he getting this done so fast? Why are these countries giving in to him, whereas they wouldn't even talk to Biden?
Because they realize this is not Joe Biden. Joe Biden projected weakness on the international stage. The withdrawal in Afghanistan was the signal to everybody that I don't know what I'm doing. And for the next 3.5 years, that remained true. President Trump knows what he's doing. He has a proven record of getting things accomplished, and people respect power. Totalitarian regimes respect power. They do not respect weakness. The Biden administration signaled weakness. They concentrated on silly things that had no common sense, like diversity and gender issues and Pride Month. What's that got to do with national security? Nothing. They laughed at us.
Yeah.
This president is focusing on the real world things that make the world turn, and that is, economic issues, military issues, national security issues, and people know that he says what he means and means what he says, whether you like him or not. he's kept all of his promises,
Yeah.
and it's only been 3 weeks.
Right. And people on the left say, yeah, but the price of eggs haven't gone down. Shut up. It's just so dumb. I mean, he said in the first year prices will come down. He didn't say in the first 3 weeks, but he's gotten stuff done that we never saw. Again, we all knew about Fogel because I think he was left behind when they brought Brittany Griner back because they wanted to show, that the basketball player was more important somehow. I think Trump would have gotten them both back. Did you even know that Belarus had a hostage? I didn't know that.
Well, quite frankly, I did not know that, and I kind of pride myself on knowing what's going on.
Right, I know. That's why I keep on going to you. You know more than I do. So I mean, we have an American hostage is coming home from Belarus, and again, he's just getting it done. And again, is it their fear of us, them wanting to play ball with us, them wanting to be on the good side of Trump, knowing it, like testing the waters and going, okay, I'm reading the room. You better be on his good side. Is it really just a matter of him saying, I will tariff you to death. I will stop trade with you. Is that what's going on? Is it that simple?
It's that simple. Most people that are neutral when the fight starts, I want to be on your side, which is the winning side. Everybody wants to be on the winning side. And Trump, with the Ukrainians, he's holding them to account. Where's all the money we sent you, the billions of dollars? What's the accounting for it? Nothing. We want something in return. We want access to your rare earth minerals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this war is going to stop. So he's going to leverage both sides to come to the table and to cut a deal. That's what he does. And it's high time that we, had a deal in Ukraine. As you know, on your show from day one, you're not going to beat Russia. Not going to happen, folks. All the propaganda, the next offensive, we're going to beat them. No, it's a home game. You're not going to beat them.
Right.
You're going to have to settle this war.
It is Warrior Defense Project Director Jeffrey Adicott, Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Adicott. We also appreciate the time and the access. So he calls Putin, and the media tries to spin it. Oh, did you talk to Putin? What did you say to Putin? Why did you call Putin? Of course you have to talk to Putin. He's the reason why this war is going on. And then he talked to Zelensky. Both sides allegedly say, yeah, we want some peace. What's going to happen? You and I have talked about this ad nauseum, but I think it's important to revisit it. Sure. What's likely to happen? Russia is going to get some land or not going to get some land. As you've told everybody for years now, they are ethnically Russian. They speak Russian. They think they're in Russia. So does that become Russia or not?
Yes, it does. The Russians are going to keep a large portion of the land that they currently hold by military force. That's going to go to Russia. They'll probably have some type of an election process where the people can rubber stamp that. Probably part of the negotiating peace process is we're going to allow elections that'll be monitored, but the elections are going to go in the favor of Russia. Ukraine will keep what it's got, and we'll have some type of a monitoring force that, from the United Nations perhaps, that kind of gets in the zone between the two warring parties. But the killing will stop, and it has to stop. These lines on maps that we call nations, God didn't draw these lines.
Right.
As you indicated, Panama used to be part of Colombia.
Yeah.
Everybody used to be part of somebody. So the ebb and flow of history, and it is flowing right now, that the lines are about ready to change.
Well, how fast can it stop? I mean, can you stop it like tomorrow? Is it that easy?
I think it is that easy. You announce a ceasefire, and it can stop. I expect it to be over within the first 100 days of the Trump administration, for sure. He was, using political rhetoric. He said, I'll have it over by the time I take office.
Right.
And then, of course, the far left, see, the day it hasn't happened.
Yeah, so stupid.
It's close enough for government work. It will be done within the first 100 days, I predict.
I'm guessing you saw Zelensky last week said, you're saying 177 billion was sent here. We only got 77. Jeff, is there really $100 billion missing?
Wow. Joe, I've been to Ukraine many times. It's a very corrupt country. We've got corruption on both sides of the pond here, corruption in this country, corruption over there. When you have no accountability, and there is no accountability for the money, there's lots of overhead costs that go to different people. And so, there's a tremendous amount of corruption that has occurred and fraud, waste.
Well, I think the question becomes this, though, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but either they lost it, somebody stole it, it's gone, or we never sent it. What's more likely, in your opinion? They said that we appropriated all this money. We had no idea where the Biden administration was sending money. Is there a chance they never sent it there and they sent it elsewhere?
No, they didn't lose it. There's some very happy people right now that have very full bank accounts.
Yes.
Both in the United States and in Ukraine. It wasn't lost. They know exactly where it went.
Well, can we track it down?
There's no accountability for it. We don't know where it went. Somebody knows. It did come out of the chute, as we say in rodeo language.
What do you make of the fact that judges are trying to stop Trump from finding that money, or Doge from finding that money, or freezing the money that USAID is sending to places we don't want it to go. What do you make of judges stepping in and saying that?
Very expected. I mean, we have about 600 federal district judges. As a lawyer, if I've got an issue that I want to present and stop somebody, I forum shop. I find the federal judge that will rule with me. I bring the case up to them. We did this in Texas against the Biden administration. We went to favorable judges so we could proceed with Operation Lone Star. So both political parties do this. It's nothing new. I think the Democrat Party has a much better handle on how to do it because they've got a lot of money, and they have a lot of zealots that are filing lawsuits left and right to try to slow down the Trump agenda. I predict that 90% of what Trump has done is going to be ruled constitutional when it gets to the Supreme Court, but it's going to take about a year. This is the only weapon in the toolbox,
Just
other
to
than
slow him
chanting
down.
and using foul language, that the Democrats have to try to slow down Trump, is to file lawsuits with sympathetic federal judges. But again, those will all be appealed.
I've got about 30 seconds. They're calling it a constitutional crisis. You and I both know Article 2 says he's got executive power. They're all wet. They're wrong about this. Is it so important that the Supreme Court might take it up immediately?
Well, no, they'll take it up in due process, but it'll be expeditious, I predict. But again, I always have a problem with people saying this is unconstitutional. Show me the Supreme Court case where it says it's unconstitutional.
There isn't
They
one.
don't say anything.
Yeah.
You can have an opinion that it's unconstitutional, but until the Supreme Court rules, it's not unconstitutional. So I appreciate you got emotions and you get emotional and it's unconstitutional and destroying the Constitution. It's just rhetoric that falls flat because we've been hearing this for years about Trump is shredding the Constitution. He's Adolf Hitler. People are tired of it.
Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Adicott, thanks for jumping on today on very short notice. Appreciate all the knowledge as always. Let's do this again soon. We'll talk about that Texas law. Appreciate you, Jeff. Thank you.
Love to.
Thanks,
Joe.
We're back after this. Stay right here.
Joe Pags.
Clear.
One in the chat. Try to bring it to you. Jeff, just great answers. Just great answers about what's going on. Really appreciate that. And again, because it's this audience, he did it for you guys. So I'm glad that he jumped on today. Paul, when I play this audio, let me know if this turns it up and down for you volume-wise. Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Glad to have this man back as Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Adicott, the boss over at the Warrior Defense Fund. Make sure you go and help them out. And also, he's working on some stuff here in the state of Texas that we'll have him on again very soon. He's pushing a law. Did the audio change for you?
Yes.
Well, that tells me a lot. Okay, all the audio problems will be fixed.
Okay.
I thought you were getting it straight from my PDTL. You're not. You're getting it from my board.
No. That would probably explain why it's much lower than you.
Well, your volume and Sam's volume, I can't change what you're hearing there, I don't think. Unless you're getting her from the board, too. You might be. I don't think so, though. You're definitely getting all this stuff from the board. And I didn't realize that because it looks like you're getting it from IPDTL. I guess you're not. I mean, from ECAM, you're not. Now that I know you're getting it from the board, I could turn the audio up all, on those sound bites all I need to.
Sweet. Sounds good. Yeah, because like that interview, I had to boost it for the
Really,
recording.
Sam? I'm going to come to your house and break your computer.
I wish you would come to my house and fix the internet.
Man, if you only
So
knew
does she have like a
somebody
little
that knew
mouse that's just
technology in
playing the
house,
piano
that'd
over
be
there? Is that just like a little mouse playing the piano over there?
It's Ecam.
Oh.
Really?
Definitely go with GBTC. It's got, I mean, did you do a bandwidth speed test? What did it say?
Yeah, I can do it right now.
Yeah, do it. Just speedtest.net.
I'll do whatever I want.
Or do that one. What'd you get?
Still doing it.
I bet it must be slow.
Download is 193. It's not that slow. That's not
Upload is important.
That's not the best though. Upload, I'm getting like 130 right now.
That's plenty for video. I have no idea why you have an issue. Always appreciate Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Adicott coming on again. Warrior Defense Project. Go and check him out. Doing great work for veterans, for those who are still in the military. We'll have him back on. There's a big law that he's working on here in the state of Texas that could, in fact, impact you where you live as well, even if you're outside of Texas. That is Sam. That is Polo. I'm Joe. We're out of here for now. We're back tomorrow night, same time, same place. Have a good night.
You're listening to Joe Pags.
Clear.
So that should be enough, Sam. But we'll check it out. I mean, we got to fix it. Get with GBTC, find out what their issue is.
Yeah, it's
That's actually pretty slow for the internet. You should have.
Yeah, and honestly, Evan gets the same up and down. So
on
I have no
Ethernet?
idea. No, we don't have. It's.
Isn't he
it won't
hardwired
reach.
into the router?
No, we're both using Wi-Fi.
All right, we'll have to take a look at it. All right, good job. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Polo. Talk to you in a bit.
Let.
People on the streams, I appreciate you. Gabby's up and running, so do me a favor and ride the raid on Twitch. On Rumble, it's twitch.com/sassycatgbaby. On YouTube, twitch.com/sassycatgbaby. It's my daughter, Gabby. She's up and running streaming. She's a variety streamer, does a lot of singing, stuff like that. Go check her out right now. Appreciate your generosity, those who supported the stream tonight. We'll talk to you tomorrow.